The alert came through just after midnight ship time. Helena Brooks was in her quarters trying to sleep when the communication system started beeping. She sat up quickly and pressed the button on the wall. "Commander, we have an emergency signal," the voice said. It was Lieutenant Jake Morrison, her second officer. "You need to hear this." Helena got dressed fast and walked to the bridge. The Valiant Dawn was a patrol ship, nothing special, but it was her ship. She had been commanding it for 3 years now, mostly doing boring routes along the edge of human space. Tonight seemed different. Jake was waiting for her. He was a tall man with short brown hair and worried eyes. He played the message without saying anything. A voice filled the bridge, thin and desperate. It spoke in the common galactic language, but the fear needed no translation. "This is Colony Administrator Thelnara of Viridian 7. We need medical help. Please, anyone who can hear this. A plague has killed hundreds of our people. Thousands more are sick. Our doctors cannot stop it. We are dying. Please help us," the message ended. Helena looked at Jake. "Where is Viridian 7? 2 days away at full speed," Jake said. He brought up a map on the main screen. "It's a mining colony. The Althari species lives there. Small population, maybe 20,000. Helena knew about the Althari. Everyone did? They were one of the gentler species in the galaxy, small and fragile. They stood only 4 feet tall and their bones broke easily. They needed special environments to stay healthy. Has anyone else responded?" Helena asked. Jake shook his head. The Galactic Medical Council sent an automated reply. Their ships are all busy with other emergencies. They said someone would come in 3 weeks. 3 weeks, Helena repeated. She looked at the map again. Viridian 7 was a small dot, far from any major space routes. They will all be dead by then. Yes, Commander. Helena thought about it for a moment. The Valiant Dawn was not a medical ship. They had a small medical bay with 1 doctor and 3 nurses. They were not equipped for a plague. But they were close and they were human. That had to count for something. Lieutenant Amy Foster, send a message to Viridian 7, Helena said. Tell them help is coming. Change our course. Full speed. Jake looked surprised. Commander, we are not really set up for this kind of mission. I know, Helena said. But we are what they have got. Check if there are any other human ships in this area. Medical ships, supply ships, anything. Jake worked on his console for a minute. There are 2 ships. The Nightingale is a medical research vessel 4 days away. The Horizon's Edge is a supply carrier 3 days out. Contact both of them, Helena ordered. Ask them to join us at Viridian 7. Tell them what we know about the situation. Amy Foster was a young woman with red hair tied back in a tight bun. She looked nervous as she sent the messages. Commander, the Althari might not want humans to help them. We have a reputation. Helena knew what Amy meant. Humans had only joined the galactic community 15 years ago. Most alien species were still scared of them. Earth was classified as a Class 12 death world, one of the most dangerous planets in known space. Everything on Earth seemed designed to kill its inhabitants. Diseases, predators, weather, even the plants were deadly. Humans had evolved to survive on that nightmare world. They were stronger than most species, tougher, more aggressive. They healed from injuries that would kill others. They could eat foods that were poison to other species. They could survive in environments that would be fatal to most galactic citizens. This made other species nervous. Humans looked like predators. Their eyes faced forward. Their teeth were designed for tearing meat. Their bodies were packed with dense muscle. Even human medicine seemed brutal to others. Human doctors were trained to be aggressive, to fight death with everything they had. They asked for help, Helena said quietly. We are going to give it to them whether they like it or not. The Valiant Dawn jumped to faster than light speed. The stars stretched into lines outside the windows. Helena went to the medical bay to talk to Dr. Lisa Grant, their chief medical officer. Lisa was a short woman in her 40s with gray starting to show in her black hair. She had been a field medic in the human military before joining the space service. She looked up when Helena entered. I heard about the distress call, Lisa said. What do we know about this plague? Not much, Helena admitted. She sat down on one of the medical beds. It attacks the respiratory system and causes internal bleeding. The Althari call it the Crimson Flux. It has killed hundreds already. Lisa pulled up information about Althari biology on her computer. Their immune systems are very weak compared to ours. What might be a minor cold for a human could kill an Althari. This plague must be really bad if it is overwhelming their population. Can we help them? Helena asked. Lisa was quiet for a moment. Maybe. Human medicine is designed for fighting the worst that nature can throw at us. We have dealt with antibiotic-resistant bacteria, hemorrhagic fevers, and pandemics that killed millions. If anyone can help the Althari, it would be us. But we need to be careful. Careful how? Humans carry all kinds of bacteria and viruses that do not bother us but could devastate the Althari, Lisa explained. We will need full containment suits. We will need to sterilize everything. Even our breath could be dangerous to them. Helena nodded. Make a list of everything you need. I will make sure you get it. 2 hours later, they received responses from the other 2 ships. The Nightingale's captain, Dr. Peter Hayes, was enthusiastic about helping. He was a medical researcher who specialized in xenobiology, the study of alien life forms. He had over 100 medical personnel on his ship and lots of equipment. Captain Ryan Clark of the Horizon's Edge also agreed to help. His ship was carrying medical supplies that had been meant for a human colony. He could divert them to Viridian 7 instead. Helena felt a little better knowing they would have backup. 3 ships were better than 1, even if none of them were really designed for this kind of emergency. On Viridian 7, Thelnara received the response from the humans. She was in her office, surrounded by reports of the dead and dying. When she saw that humans were coming, her blood went cold. Humans. The Deathworlders. The species that scared everyone in the galaxy. They were coming here. Thelnara had heard the stories. She knew about Earth and its horrors. She knew that humans were strong enough to break Althari bones with their bare hands. She knew that human medicine was rough and violent, developed on a world where gentleness meant death. But what choice did she have? Her people were dying. The Galactic Medical Council had abandoned them. The humans were the only ones coming to help. She sent back a simple message. We accept your help. Please hurry. Then she sat in her office and wondered if she had just made the biggest mistake of her life. Maybe inviting humans to their colony was worse than the plague. Maybe she had just traded one death for another. Outside her window, the sun was setting over the purple forests of Viridian 7. It was a beautiful planet, peaceful and gentle. It had never known creatures like humans before. Soon that would change. The Deathworlders were coming. The 3 human ships arrived at Viridian 7 after 2 days of travel at maximum speed. Helena stood on the bridge of the Valiant Dawn, looking at the planet on the main screen. It was beautiful, with swirling clouds and vast oceans. The continents were covered in purple and green vegetation. It looked peaceful, but the sensors told a different story. Jake ran scans of the main colony settlement. Commander, this is bad. The population is down 20% from recorded numbers. Thousands more show signs of the illness. Helena felt a cold weight in her stomach. They had already lost so many. Open a channel to the colony. A face appeared on the screen. It was an Althari, and Helena had to stop herself from staring. She had seen pictures before, but seeing one in person was different. Thelnara was tiny, maybe 3.5 feet tall. Her skin was pale blue and her eyes were large and dark. She looked delicate, like she might break if someone touched her too hard. This is Commander Helena Brooks of the Valiant Dawn, Helena said, trying to sound calm and friendly. We are here to help. We have medical teams ready to come down to your colony. Thelnara stared at Helena. The Althari's face showed pure fear. Helena realized that she must look like a monster to this small, gentle creature. Helena was tall for a human woman, nearly 6 feet. Her shoulders were broad and her arms were muscular. Next to an Althari, she must seem like a giant predator. You are human, Thelnara said quietly. Her voice was shaking. Yes, Helena said. I know we might seem scary to you, but we are here to help. We have doctors and medicine. We have experience fighting diseases like this. There was a long silence. Helena could see Thelnara talking to someone off-screen. Finally, the Althari administrator looked back at the camera. You may send down 20 people, Thelnara said. They must wear full containment suits. They must stay in the areas we designate, and they must not touch any of our people. Helena understood the fear, but 20 people would not be enough. Administrator, we have over 100 medical personnel across our 3 ships. We have equipment and supplies. To save your people, we need to send more than 20. 100 humans? Thelnara looked even more terrified. That is too many. You could take over our entire colony. We are not here to take over anything, Helena said firmly. We are here to save lives. Your people are dying. Every hour we delay costs more lives. Please let us help you properly. Another long silence. Then Thelnara nodded slowly. Very well, but you will wear the containment suits. And if any of your people threaten my citizens, I will ask you to leave. Agreed, Helena said. We will be down in 2 hours. The first shuttle landed in the central plaza of the colony's main city. The doors opened and humans began walking out. A small crowd of Althari had gathered to watch, keeping a safe distance. When they saw the humans, many of them gasped and stepped back. Even in the containment suits, the humans were huge. Dr. Peter Hayes was the first to approach Thelnara. He was a tall man with gray hair and kind eyes behind his helmet. He moved slowly, carefully, like someone trying not to scare a small animal. He knelt down to be closer to Thelnara's height. Administrator, I am Dr. Hayes. Thank you for allowing us to help your people. I promise we will do everything we can to stop this plague. Thelnara looked at the kneeling human. Even on his knees, he was taller than she was. Please follow me to the medical facility, she said quietly. The medical facility was a low building near the center of the city. Inside, it was chaos. Sick Althari filled every bed and many more were lying on the floor. The local doctors looked exhausted and desperate. When the humans walked in, some of the Althari patients started crying in fear. Dr. Lisa Grant quickly assessed the situation. She had brought 3 nurses from the Valiant Dawn, including Nurse Kevin Palmer, a young man who had trained as an emergency medic. Lisa started giving orders to her team, her voice calm but urgent. We need to set up triage. Critical patients in this section. Stable patients over there. Kevin, start getting vital signs on everyone. I need to know who is in the most danger. The humans moved with incredible speed. The Althari doctors watched in amazement as the humans set up equipment, organized patients, and began assessments. In less than an hour, the chaotic medical facility had become organized and efficient. Outside, more shuttles were landing. Captain Ryan Clark's crew from the Horizon's Edge began unloading supplies. Boxes of medical equipment, portable oxygen generators, and laboratory gear piled up in the plaza. The humans carried loads that would have required machines for the Althari to move. Dr. Hayes set up a temporary laboratory in an empty building near the medical facility. He needed to analyze the bacteria causing the plague. He worked with 3 other human scientists, all of them focused and intense. They took samples from sick patients and began running tests. An Althari doctor named Vorn approached Lisa cautiously. He was old for an Althari, his pale blue skin marked with darker spots. How do you work so fast? He asked. You have only been here for 2 hours and you have done more than we could do in 2 days. Lisa looked at him through her helmet. On Earth, we have to work fast. Diseases kill quickly there. We learn to move fast or people die. It is just how we were trained. Your world must be terrible, Vorn said softly. It can be, Lisa admitted, but it taught us how to fight. That is what we are going to do here. We are going to fight this plague and we are going to win. Kevin Palmer was working with a young Althari nurse named Kessa. She had volunteered to help the humans despite her fear. At first, she could barely look at Kevin. He was young, maybe 25, with sandy brown hair and a friendly smile that she could see through his helmet. Can you hand me that scanner? Kevin asked, pointing to a device on a nearby table. Kessa picked up the scanner with shaking hands and gave it to him. She was terrified of getting too close to the human. His hands alone were bigger than her entire head. Thank you, Kevin said gently. I know this must be scary for you. Big strange aliens showing up at your home, but I promise we are just here to help. Kessa nodded but did not say anything. She watched as Kevin examined a patient, a child with the crimson flux. The human's hands were surprisingly gentle as he checked the child's breathing and took samples. His movements were careful and precise, nothing like the brutal violence she had expected. By nightfall, the humans had transformed the colony's medical response. Portable clean rooms had been set up for the sickest patients. Laboratory results were coming in. Every infected Althari had been examined and categorized. The humans had worked for 16 hours straight without stopping for rest. The Althari were amazed. They needed to rest every few hours or they would collapse from exhaustion. But the humans just kept going, hour after hour, fueled by determination and the endurance their harsh world had given them. Dr. Hayes called a meeting with the senior medical staff, both human and Althari. His face was serious as he shared his findings. The crimson flux is a bacterium, not a virus, he explained. That is good news because bacteria can be killed with the right antibiotics. The bad news is that this bacterium is resistant to all of the antibiotics the Althari have been using. Vorn looked devastated. Then we are doomed. If our medicine cannot stop it, nothing can. That is not true, Dr. Hayes said. Humans have been fighting antibiotic-resistant bacteria for over 100 years. Earth is full of diseases that laugh at basic antibiotics. We have developed other methods. Bacteriophage therapy, combination treatments, plasma exchange. We can stop this. How long will it take? Thelnara asked. She looked exhausted and frightened. We can start treatments tomorrow, Dr. Hayes said. We have everything we need on our ships. The treatments will be aggressive and they might seem harsh to you, but they will work. Helena put a hand on Thelnara's shoulder, then quickly removed it when the Althari flinched. We know you are scared of us, but we are good at this. We are very, very good at fighting death. Trust us. Thelnara looked at the humans around her. They were giants, predators, creatures from a nightmare world, but they were also her people's only hope. She took a deep breath and nodded. Do what you need to do, she said quietly. Save my people. Treatment began at dawn. Dr. Lisa Grant chose the sickest patient to start with, a young Althari named Soren. He was barely breathing, his pale blue skin turning darker from lack of oxygen. His parents stood nearby, holding each other and crying. Lisa explained the procedure to the Althari doctors who were watching. We are going to do a plasma exchange. We will filter his blood to remove the bacterial toxins while we attack the infection with targeted antibiotics and bacteriophages. Vorn looked at the equipment Lisa was setting up. It seemed so invasive, so aggressive. Is this safe? He is very weak. It is risky, Lisa admitted. But doing nothing is certain death. This gives him a chance. She began the procedure. The Althari watched with horror as needles were inserted, and Soren's blood began flowing through tubes and machines. It looked brutal and wrong, but Lisa worked with steady confidence, monitoring every number, adjusting every setting. Kevin assisted her, his hands quick and sure. After 2 hours, something changed. Soren's breathing got easier. His color started to improve. By the 4th hour, his eyes opened. By the 6th hour, he was able to speak to his parents. The Althari doctors could not believe it. They had watched Soren dying for days, helpless to save him. The humans had brought him back in less than a day. Word spread through the colony quickly. The terrifying humans with their brutal medicine were actually saving lives. More Althari began to come to the medical facility, no longer quite as afraid. Kessa found herself working alongside Kevin more and more. Her initial terror was slowly being replaced by curiosity. She watched how gentle he was with the patients, how he spoke to them in soft voices, how careful he was not to scare them. Why are you so careful with us? She asked during a rare quiet moment. You are so strong. You could hurt us so easily. Kevin looked at her through his helmet. That is exactly why we have to be careful. On Earth, humans are the strongest thing around. We learned a long time ago that strength comes with responsibility. Just because you can hurt someone does not mean you should. But your world is so dangerous, Kessa said. Everyone says Earth is a nightmare. How did you learn to be gentle on such a harsh planet? Kevin smiled. Because we had to work together to survive. Humans alone are not that tough. But humans working together, helping each other, protecting each other, that is how we survived. We learned to be strong and gentle at the same time. On the 3rd day, an emergency happened. An elderly Althari named Pren went into cardiac arrest. His heart simply stopped beating. The alarm on his monitor started screaming. Dr. Hayes was there in seconds. He did not hesitate. He placed his hands on Pren's chest and began pushing down hard and fast. 30 compressions then. Kevin gave 2 breaths through a mask. Then 30 more compressions. The Althari who were watching started screaming. To them it looked like the human was attacking Pren, crushing his chest with those huge, powerful hands. Thelnara came running when she heard the screams. When she saw what Dr. Hayes was doing, she lost control. Stop! You are killing him. Get away from him! She tried to run forward, but Helena caught her, holding her back carefully. Let him work, Helena said firmly. He is not hurting Pren, he is trying to save him. He is crushing his chest. He will break every bone. That is CPR, Helena explained, still holding the struggling Althari. Cardiopulmonary resuscitation. When the heart stops, you have to manually pump it. Yes, it can break ribs, but broken ribs heal. Death does not. Dr. Hayes kept working. Sweat poured down his face inside his helmet. Kevin gave another dose of medication. Lisa brought over a defibrillator. "Clear," Dr. Hayes said, and sent an electric shock through Pren's body. Nothing happened. Dr. Hayes went back to compressions. 30 more, over and over. Another shock. Still nothing. The humans did not give up. They worked for 20 minutes straight, refusing to accept death. Then finally the monitor beeped. Pren's heart started beating again on its own. The old Althari gasped and his eyes opened. He was alive. Dr. Hayes sat back, breathing hard. "Got him," he said quietly. The room was completely silent. Every Althari was staring at the humans in shock. They had just watched someone die and come back to life. The humans had literally fought death and won. Thelnara stopped struggling against Helena's grip. "How?" she whispered. "How did you do that?" Helena let her go gently. "On Earth we do not give up easily. Death has to work hard to take us. We fight until the very end." Vorn approached Dr. Hayes slowly. "That looked so violent, so brutal." "But you saved him," Dr. Hayes nodded. "Human medicine seems rough because our world is rough. Gentle treatments do not work when everything is trying to kill you. We had to learn to be aggressive or we would have gone extinct millions of years ago." Another Althari doctor, a young female named Mira, spoke up. "Your world must have been hell. How did your species survive?" "By never giving up," Dr. Hayes said simply. "And by taking care of each other. Yes, Earth is dangerous, but it made us tough. It made us survivors. And now we can use that to help others survive too." The incident with Pren changed everything. The Althari began to understand that what looked like violence was actually a different kind of caring. The humans were not brutal because they were cruel. They were aggressive because that was the only way to win against death on a death world. Meanwhile, Captain Ryan Clark was solving another problem. His engineers had been analyzing the colony's infrastructure. They discovered that the water purification system was contaminated with the bacteria. It was spreading the plague faster than the humans could treat it. Ryan brought his chief engineer, a man named Greg Walsh, to meet with Thelnara. Greg showed her the test results. "Your water system is infected. We need to shut it down and install a new purification protocol." Thelnara looked at the plans Greg showed her. The human purification system seemed excessive. Multiple filters, ultraviolet sterilization, chemical treatment, and bacterial testing. "Is all this really necessary?" "It seems like too much." Ryan laughed, but not in a mean way. "This is actually the basic system we use on Earth. Our water is full of bacteria, viruses, parasites, and chemical contaminants. If we did not filter it this heavily, half the population would be sick all the time." "But your water is naturally that bad?" Thelnara asked in horror. "Earth is that bad," Ryan corrected. "Every lake, river, and ocean on our planet is full of things trying to kill us. We learned to deal with it. Now that knowledge can save your people." The humans installed the new water system in 2 days. It worked perfectly. Within hours, the rate of new infections started to drop. By the end of the first week, the change was dramatic. The mortality rate had dropped to almost zero. Every infected Althari was receiving treatment. The humans had manufactured enough bacteriophages to treat everyone twice. The Crimson Flux was being beaten. Kessa had stopped being afraid of Kevin. Now she was fascinated by him and the other humans. One evening, after a long shift, she asked him about Earth. Kevin told her stories that seemed impossible. Oceans so deep and dark that monsters the size of ships lived in them. Deserts so hot they could kill in hours. Storms that could flatten entire cities. Diseases that killed millions before humans learned to fight them. Plants that were poisonous to touch. Animals with venom that could kill in minutes. "Why do you stay there?" Kessa asked. "Why not leave and find a safer planet?" Kevin smiled. "Because it is home. Yes, Earth is dangerous, but it is also beautiful, and it made us who we are. We carry our world inside us, the good and the bad. That is why we are here helping you. Because when you survive a death world, you learn that all life is precious. You learn to fight for it." Kessa looked at the human with new eyes. He was not a monster. He was just someone shaped by a harsh world. Someone who had learned to be tough and gentle at the same time. Someone who would fight death itself to save a stranger. The Deathworlders were winning. Althari still had active infections, and they were all responding well to treatment. The rest were recovering. Not a single patient had died since the 5th day. The relationship between humans and Althari had changed completely. The fear was still there, deep down, but now it was mixed with respect and gratitude. The Althari had seen what the humans could do. They had watched these powerful, frightening creatures work day and night to save lives. Kessa had become close friends with Kevin. They often ate meals together between. 2 weeks after the humans arrived, the crisis was almost over. Only a few dozen end shifts, though Kevin had to eat in a separate area because human food might make Althari sick. She asked him endless questions about Earth and humanity. "Tell me more about your pandemics," she said one evening. "You mentioned diseases that killed millions. How did you survive them?" Kevin thought for a moment. "Well, there was the Black Death in the 14th century. It killed maybe half of Europe's population. Then there was Spanish flu in 1918, which killed 50 million people worldwide. More recently, we had antibiotic-resistant bacteria that could kill you in days." Kessa felt sick just hearing about it. "How did your species not go extinct?"
"We learned," Kevin said simply.
"Every pandemic taught us something new. We developed better medicine, better hygiene, better ways to track and stop diseases. Each crisis made us stronger. That is the thing about death worlds. They do not just kill you. They teach you how to survive. But why help us?" Kessa asked. "The galaxy has been afraid of you for 15 years. We have kept humans at a distance. We have treated you like dangerous animals. Why come here and risk your lives for people who fear you?" Kevin looked at her seriously. "Because it is the right thing to do. Yes, humans can be violent. Yes, we have done terrible things to each other throughout our history, wars, genocides, cruelty. But we have also done incredible things. We have traveled across oceans to help strangers. We have risked our lives to save people we have never met. That is part of being human too. When someone needs help, you help them. It is that simple." Meanwhile, Dr. Peter Hayes was giving a presentation to the Althari medical staff. He was sharing human medical knowledge freely, teaching them everything they needed to know to handle future outbreaks on their own. "The key is not to wait," Dr. Hayes explained. "When you see the first signs of a dangerous illness, you hit it hard and fast. Do not try gentle treatments first and hope they work. Use your strongest medicine right away. Save the gentle approach for later after you have stopped the immediate threat." Vorn raised a hand. "But that seems so aggressive. What if the strong medicine has bad side effects?" "Side effects can be treated," Dr. Hayes said. "Death cannot. On Earth, we learned that sometimes you have to be aggressive to save lives. Yes, strong antibiotics can damage the kidneys. Yes, chemotherapy makes you sick. Yes, surgery is traumatic. But they work. They save lives." The Althari doctors were taking notes frantically. This was completely different from how they had been trained, but they could not argue with the results. The humans had saved their entire colony. That evening, Helena had dinner with Thelnara. It was the first time they had really talked one-on-one since the humans arrived. They sat in Thelnara's office eating carefully prepared food. Helena's meal was specially sealed because even her breath could carry bacteria dangerous to Althari. "I want to apologize," Thelnara said quietly. "When you first arrived, I was so afraid. I thought you might be worse than the plague. I thought you would hurt us," Helena smiled gently. "You do not need to apologize. Your fear was reasonable. Humans are scary. We know that. We are big and strong, and we come from a world that would kill most species in days. Of course you were afraid. But you saved us," Thelnara said, tears filling her large dark eyes. "You worked so hard. You never gave up, even when it seemed hopeless. You treated every Althari life like it mattered as much as your own." "Because it does matter," Helena said firmly. "Every life matters. That is something humans believe deeply. Maybe it is because life is so hard on Earth. Maybe it is because we have lost so many people to wars and diseases. But we value life, all life, not just human life." Thelnara wiped her eyes. "I want the galaxy to know what you did here. I want them to know that humans are not monsters. You are heroes." Helena felt uncomfortable with that word. "We are not heroes. We are just people doing our jobs. Any decent species would have done the same thing. But they did not," Thelnara pointed out. "The Galactic Medical Council said someone would come in 3 weeks. That would have been too late. Only you came. Only humans cared enough to drop everything and rush here to help strangers." Helena did not know what to say to that. She just nodded and hoped that maybe, just maybe, this would change how the galaxy saw humanity. While all this was happening, Jake Morrison had been working on his own investigation. Something about the plague had bothered him from the beginning. It had spread too fast, hit too hard. Natural diseases usually did not work that way. He spent days analyzing data, looking at patterns, running simulations. Finally, he found what he was looking for. The bacteria had not evolved naturally. It had been designed. Jake took his findings to Helena immediately. She was in her quarters getting ready for sleep after another long day. When she saw Jake's face, she knew something was very wrong. "Commander, the Crimson Flux is not natural," Jake said without preamble. "It is a biological weapon. Someone created it in a laboratory and planted it in the colony's water supply." Helena felt cold. "Are you sure?" "Completely sure," Jake said. He showed her his analysis on a tablet. "Look at the genetic structure. These modifications do not happen in nature. Someone engineered this bacteria to be resistant to standard Althari antibiotics. They designed it to spread fast and kill efficiently. This was an attack." Helena sat down heavily. "Who would do this? Who would attack a peaceful mining colony with biological weapons?" "I do not know," Jake admitted. "But we need to report this to the Galactic Medical Council. If someone is using biological weapons, other colonies could be at risk." Helena immediately sent a message to the council, attaching all of Jake's findings. She also asked Dr. Hayes to provide DNA analysis, proving that the bacteria was genetically modified. The response from the council came the next day. It was dismissive and cold. They did not believe the humans' findings. They suggested that humans were seeing conspiracies where none existed. They implied that humans were too aggressive and paranoid, seeing threats everywhere because that was how Deathworlders thought. Helena was furious. She showed the message to Dr. Hayes. "They are not taking us seriously. They think we are making this up." Dr. Hayes read the message and shook his head. "Then we need to give them proof they cannot ignore. I will run a complete genetic analysis. I will document every single modification. I will make it so clear that even they cannot deny it." He worked for 3 days straight, barely sleeping. When he was done, he had a report that was impossible to dispute. The bacteria had been modified in at least 30 different ways. Each modification made it more deadly, more resistant, more efficient at killing Althari. Helena sent the new report to the council. This time they could not dismiss it. The evidence was overwhelming. Someone had weaponized a bacterium and used it to attack Viridian 7. 2 days later, the council sent an emergency message. 3 more colonies had reported similar outbreaks. All of them showed the same pattern: genetically modified bacteria. Fast spread, high mortality. These were not natural plagues. They were attacks. Helena gathered her senior staff. "The council is finally taking this seriously. But their medical ships are still weeks away from the other infected colonies. People are dying right now. We should go," Dr. Hayes said immediately. "We know how to treat this. We have the equipment and the experience. We can save those people." "But we are not authorized," Jake pointed out. "The council has not given humans permission to respond to emergencies outside human space." Helena stood up. "Then we will get that permission. Thelnara is going to testify to the council about what we did here. If she tells them that humans saved Viridian 7, they will have to authorize us to help the other colonies." She was right. When Thelnara spoke to the Galactic Council, her testimony was powerful. She described how the humans had worked tirelessly, how they had saved thousands of lives, how their Deathworld medicine had succeeded where conventional treatments failed. The council was still nervous about giving humans free access to the galaxy. But they had no choice. Their own ships were too slow and too far away. People were dying. They needed the humans. The authorization came through 3 days later. The Galactic Council issued an emergency declaration, allowing human medical and military vessels to respond to biological threats throughout the sector. It was temporary, they said, just until the current crisis was over. But it was something. Helena received the message while still in orbit around Viridian 7. She immediately called a meeting with the other ship commanders. Dr. Peter Hayes joined from the Nightingale. Captain Ryan Clark was there from the Horizon's Edge. They gathered on the bridge of the Valiant Dawn to plan their next moves. "There are 3 colonies with active outbreaks," Helena said, bringing up a star map. "All of them are showing the same pattern as Viridian 7. Modified bacteria, fast spread, high casualties. We need to split up to cover them all." "The Nightingale will take the closest one," Dr. Hayes said. "We have the most medical personnel and equipment. We can set up a full field hospital. The Horizon's Edge will go to the second colony, Ryan added. We still have plenty of supplies and my crew is trained in emergency response. That leaves the third colony for us, Helena said. But first I want to leave some people here on Viridian 7. The Althari need training. If this happens again, they need to know how to fight it themselves. Dr. Hayes nodded. I will leave part of my medical team here. Dr. Lisa Grant, would you be willing to stay and run the training program? Lisa did not hesitate. Absolutely. These people need to know how to protect themselves. We cannot be here every time something happens. Kevin, you will stay too, Lisa said. The Althari trust you. They will learn better from you than from me. Kevin looked surprised but pleased. Yes, ma'am. I would be honored. When Kessa heard that Kevin was staying, she was thrilled. She immediately volunteered for the training program. Several other young Althari medical staff joined her. They wanted to learn the Deathworlder methods that had saved their colony. The day before the ships were scheduled to leave, the colony held a ceremony. Thousands of Althari gathered in the central plaza. They wanted to say thank you to the humans who had saved them. Thelnara gave a speech. Her voice was broadcast across the entire colony so everyone could hear. 3 weeks ago, we were dying. We had given up hope. We sent out a cry for help, not really believing anyone would come. But someone did come. The humans came. She paused, looking at the humans standing in front of her. They looked so big and powerful compared to the Althari around them. But now the Althari saw them differently. We were afraid of you, Thelnara continued. You come from a world we cannot even imagine, a world so harsh and deadly that it created beings unlike anything else in the galaxy. You are strong in ways we will never be. You are tough in ways we cannot understand. You survive things that would kill us in moments. But you are also kind. You are also gentle. You are also capable of great compassion. You worked day and night to save us. You treated our lives like they mattered as much as your own. You never gave up even when it seemed hopeless. You fought death itself for us. Thelnara's voice broke with emotion. The galaxy calls you Deathworlders. They call you dangerous. They call you frightening. And maybe you are all those things. But you are also heroes. You are also saviors. And we will never forget what you did for us. The Althari began to cheer. It started as a quiet sound but grew louder and louder. Thousands of voices raised together in gratitude. Helena felt tears in her eyes. She had not expected this. She had just been doing her job, doing what any decent person would do. But seeing how much it meant to these people, she understood. This was bigger than just saving one colony. This was humanity showing the galaxy who they really were. After the ceremony, Helena had one last conversation with Thelnara. They stood together on a balcony, looking out over the purple forests of Viridian 7. I will never stop being a little afraid of humans, Thelnara said honestly. You will always seem too big, too strong, too powerful to me. That fear is built into my species. We evolved on a gentle world. You evolved on a nightmare. I understand, Helena said. But, Thelnara continued, I also know now that fear is not the whole story. Yes, I fear what you are, but I am grateful for who you are. Does that make sense? Helena smiled. Yes, that makes perfect sense. The 3 ships broke orbit the next morning. Dr. Hayes gave each departing crew member a small patch to wear on their uniforms. It showed a simple design. Earth's moon with the words "so others may live" written underneath. This is our mission now, Dr. Hayes explained. Not just for the Nightingale, but for all humans working in space. We are the Deathworlders. We survived Earth. Now we use that strength to help others survive too. As the Valiant Dawn jumped to faster-than-light speed, Helena stood on the bridge and looked at her crew. They had all volunteered for this. They could have stayed in safe human space doing routine patrols and easy missions. Instead, they were heading into another crisis, another plague, another chance to save strangers who would probably be afraid of them at first. I want to say something, Helena announced. The bridge crew turned to look at her. The galaxy sees us as monsters from a death world. Maybe they are right. Earth made us harder than most species. It made us tougher. It made us aggressive and stubborn and unwilling to give up. But Earth also made us compassionate. It taught us the value of life because we have seen how fragile it can be. It taught us to help each other because that is the only way to survive a harsh world. It taught us to fight for others because we know what it is like to need help desperately. Helena looked each crew member in the eyes. So yes, we are Deathworlders. We come from a nightmare planet that would kill most species, but we are also the people who will run toward danger when others run away. We are the people who will work until we collapse to save strangers. We are the people who look at death and say, "Not today." The galaxy wanted doctors, gentle healers from peaceful worlds. Instead, they got us, the children of Earth, the ones who learned medicine on a planet where nature is always trying to kill you, the ones who developed treatments that seem brutal because brutal is what works when everything is hostile. But you know what? We are exactly what the galaxy needs right now, because someone out there is using biological weapons. Someone is attacking peaceful colonies with modified diseases, and the gentle healers from peaceful worlds do not know how to fight that. But we do. We have been fighting hostile biology our entire existence. Helena straightened her uniform. So we are going to do what humans do best. We are going to survive. We are going to fight. And we are going to protect those who cannot protect themselves. That is our promise. Not just to the colonies we save, but to each other and to humanity itself. We will use our strength for good. The crew was silent for a moment. Then Jake started clapping. Amy joined in. Soon the entire bridge crew was applauding. They understood. They knew what they were and what they could be. Back on Viridian 7, Kessa stood in the medical facility wearing her new patch. So others may live. She touched it gently and smiled. Kevin had given it to her before the ships left. She was not human, but she was learning from them. She was learning to be strong and gentle at the same time. She was learning to fight for life. The training program started the next day. Lisa taught the Althari doctors everything she knew. How to be aggressive when needed. How to make fast decisions. How to fight death with everything you had. The Althari struggled at first. It went against everything they had been taught. But they learned. They adapted. They became better. Across the sector, the human ships arrived at the infected colonies. The pattern was the same each time. Fear at first. The colonists were terrified of the huge, powerful humans. But then the humans started working. They set up their equipment. They organized the chaos. They began saving lives, and slowly the fear changed to hope. Within a month, all 3 colonies were saved. The modified bacteria were defeated. The attacks had failed. Humanity had proven itself not as the monsters the galaxy feared, but as the protectors it needed. The Galactic Council held an emergency session. The vote was close, but in the end, they agreed. Humanity would be given full membership in the galactic community. Human medical teams would be authorized to respond to emergencies anywhere in Council space. The temporary authorization became permanent. Helena received the news while her ship was being resupplied. She smiled but did not celebrate. There was too much work to do. More colonies needed help. More lives needed saving. The Deathworlders had been accepted, but that just meant more responsibility. She looked at the star map showing all the human ships now spread across the sector. Each one was heading toward a new emergency, a new crisis, a new chance to prove that humanity belonged among the stars. They had expected doctors. Instead, they got Deathworlders. And maybe Helena thought that was exactly what the galaxy needed all along. 6 months after the Viridian 7 incident, the galaxy had changed. Human medical ships were now a common sight at colony worlds throughout the sector. The initial fear had not completely disappeared, but it had been joined by something stronger: trust. Helena Brooks was promoted to captain and given command of a new rapid response fleet. 5 ships now operated under her command, each one equipped with the latest medical technology and staffed by humans who had proven themselves time and again. But the biological attacks had not stopped. If anything, they were getting worse. Jake Morrison had been tracking the pattern of attacks for months. He had compiled data from 15 different incidents across 7 sectors. Someone was systematically targeting peaceful colonies with modified diseases. Jake presented his findings at a Galactic Council meeting. Helena went with him, standing before representatives from dozens of species. Many of them still looked nervous around humans, but they listened. The attacks follow a pattern, Jake explained, showing them his data. They target colonies that are isolated, far from major trade routes. The diseases are always modified bacteria, not viruses, and they are always resistant to the victim species' standard medical treatments. Who is doing this? Asked Council Member Telrin, a tall insectoid species with clicking speech patterns. Do you have suspects? Not yet, Jake admitted. But we have been analyzing the genetic modifications in each bacteria. They show similar techniques. This is not multiple attackers. This is one group, one organization with advanced biological knowledge. The council chamber erupted in worried conversation. The idea of a coordinated biological warfare campaign terrified them. Most galactic species had never experienced anything like this. Their worlds were gentle. Their histories were relatively peaceful. This kind of calculated cruelty was foreign to them, but not to humans. Humans knew about biological warfare. Earth's history was full of it, from ancient armies throwing diseased bodies over walls to modern nations developing horrific weapons they promised never to use. Helena stood up. "Captain Brooks of the Human Rapid Response Fleet," she announced. "I want to make a proposal. Let us hunt down whoever is doing this. Humans have experience tracking this kind of threat. We know how these weapons are made. We know how to trace them back to their source. You want to turn this into a military operation?" asked Council Member Vresh, a floating jellyfish-like being. "We are a peaceful community. We do not wage war. Someone is already waging war on you," Helena said bluntly. "They are just using bacteria instead of bombs. Thousands have died already. How many more will die before you decide to fight back?" The council debated for hours. Finally, they reached a decision. The human fleet would be authorized to investigate the biological attacks. They could track the source. But if they found the culprits, they were to report back to the council, not take independent action. The council still did not fully trust humans to make military decisions. Helena accepted the restrictions. It was better than nothing. Her fleet began the investigation immediately. Meanwhile, on Viridian 7, the training program had expanded. Kessa was no longer just a student. She was now helping to teach other Althari the Deathworlder methods. She had learned to think like a human doctor, to be aggressive when needed, to fight for every life. Kevin Palmer had stayed on Viridian 7 for the full 6 months. He had grown close to the Althari community. They no longer saw him as a frightening alien. He was just Kevin, the human who had saved their colony and then stayed to make sure they could save themselves. One evening, Kevin and Kessa were having dinner together. It had become a regular thing, their friendship growing stronger over the months. Kessa had taught Kevin about Althari culture. Kevin had taught Kessa about Earth. "Do you miss your ship?" Kessa asked. "The Valiant Dawn has been gone for months now. Do you wish you had gone with them?" Kevin thought about it. "Sometimes. I miss my crewmates. I miss the excitement of space travel. But this is important too, teaching you and the others. Making sure your colony can defend itself. This matters. We would have all died without you," Kessa said quietly. "All of us. My family, my friends, everyone I know. The humans saved us. That is what we do," Kevin said simply. "Or at least that is what we try to do. Humans are not perfect. We make mistakes. We have done terrible things in our history. But we also try to do good. We try to help." Kessa looked at her friend. He was so big compared to her, so strong, so different. But he was also kind and patient and dedicated. "I think humanity will change the galaxy," she said. "You are teaching us that strength does not have to mean violence. That being tough does not mean being cruel." Kevin smiled. "I hope so. That is the dream anyway." The investigation into the biological attacks took 3 months. Jake Morrison worked with specialists from across the human fleet. They traced shipments of laboratory equipment. They analyzed the genetic signatures of the modified bacteria. They followed leads across a dozen star systems. Finally, they found it. A hidden research station in an uninhabited system. The station was small but sophisticated. It had been operating for years, developing biological weapons and selling them to anyone willing to pay. Helena took her entire fleet to the system. They found the station easily. It made no attempt to hide or run. That should have been a warning, but they did not realize it until too late. As the human ships approached, the station activated a defense system. But it was not weapons they used. They released a cloud of modified bacteria into space, specifically designed to attack human biology. The bacteria could survive in vacuum and would stick to ship hulls, eventually finding their way inside. The enemy had studied human medicine. They knew how humans fought disease. They had created something designed to beat those methods. This bacteria was resistant to everything in the human medical arsenal. Helena ordered an immediate retreat, but it was too late. The bacteria cloud had already reached the Valiant Dawn. Within hours, crew members started getting sick. The symptoms were brutal: High fever, respiratory failure, internal bleeding. It was like the Crimson Flux, but worse. Much worse. Dr. Lisa Grant, who had rejoined the fleet after finishing her work on Viridian 7, worked frantically to find a treatment. But nothing worked. The bacteria laughed at antibiotics. Bacteriophages could not target it. Even plasma exchange only slowed it down. For the first time since arriving at Viridian 7, humans were losing. People were dying. The Deathworlders had met something that could kill even them. Helena sent out an emergency message to all nearby ships, including a desperate call to Viridian 7. She explained what had happened. She told them that the human fleet was infected with something they could not cure. She asked for help. On Viridian 7, Kessa received the message. She looked at Kevin with wide eyes. They need help. The humans need help. Kevin was already moving. Get Dr. Vorn. Get everyone who has been trained. We need to analyze this bacteria and find a weakness. The Althari medical team worked through the night. They used everything the humans had taught them. They approached the problem like Deathworlders, aggressively testing every possible treatment. They refused to give up. Kessa was the one who found it. A combination of Althari native antibiotics and human bacteriophages, delivered in a way no one had tried before. It was risky. It might not work. But it was a chance. They sent the treatment protocol to the human fleet immediately. Lisa tried it on the sickest patients first. For 2 hours, nothing happened. Then slowly, improvement. The bacteria began to die. The patients began to recover. By the next day, the crisis was over. Every infected human was receiving the treatment. The bacteria that was supposed to kill the Deathworlders had been defeated, not by human medicine alone, but by cooperation between humans and Althari. Helena sent a message to Viridian 7. Her voice was weak but grateful. Thank you. You saved us. The people we helped 6 months ago just saved our lives. Kessa smiled through her tears. You taught us how to fight. We just used what you showed us. With the human fleet recovered, they returned to the hidden station. This time they were prepared. They captured the station intact and arrested everyone inside. The people running it were not soldiers or terrorists. They were scientists who had lost their moral compass, people who saw profit in suffering. The Galactic Council held trials. The criminals were sentenced to life imprisonment. The biological weapons research was destroyed. New laws were passed making such research illegal throughout Council space. But the biggest change was in how the galaxy saw humanity. The humans had not just saved others. They had accepted help when they needed it. They had shown vulnerability. They had proven that even Deathworlders were not invincible. But that did not make them any less heroic. A year after the Viridian 7 incident, Helena stood on the bridge of the Valiant Dawn looking at the stars. Her fleet had grown to 20 ships now. More humans were joining every month, eager to help, ready to serve. But it was not just humans anymore. Althari medical teams now served on human ships. Other species were learning the Deathworlder methods. The galaxy was changing, becoming tougher, more resilient, better prepared to face threats. Jake came to stand beside her. We got another distress call. Colony outbreak 3 days away. Helena smiled. Let them know we are coming. The Valiant Dawn turned toward the new crisis.